Lauren Boebert pulled another ridiculous stunt that immediately and brutally backfired right in her face. I have a clip to play for you from a recent debate on the House floor. Congress is currently deciding on funding bills as yet another government shutdown looms, and Lauren Boebert used her ability to propose an amendment to get attention and make some point, but a Democrat very quickly stands up and points out it's a completely pointless amendment, and they have a really hilarious and entertaining back and forth. And it's so representative of a broader truth about the modern Republican Party. Before playing it, though, let me break down some of the context. So they're deciding on the Financial Services and General Government Appropriations Act of 2024, and Lauren Boebert boldly says, I want to add an amendment to this and prevent these funds from being used, quote, in violation of federal immigration law for sanctuary city policies, which Democrat Steny Hoyer, as you're about to see, immediately says, are any of these funds in the bill allocated to that right now? And Boebert's just very confused about the whole deal because the answer is no. So, by the way, of course, sanctuary cities are considered sanctuaries for undocumented immigrants because the particular policies vary, but the cities, to different degrees, assist in preventing the deportation of undocumented immigrants unless they're involved in some other crime. So they won't report undocumented immigrants to ICE, for example. And Steny Hoyer makes the point that, why are you bringing this up? It's so random. I've looked at the legislation and nowhere in it do funds go to that purpose. And Boebert, again, is just very discombobulated. Take a look.
I rise in perplexion.
The gentleman's
which
recognized.
I presume is objection.
Gentleman's recognized.
And I ask the gentlelady to yield for a question.
Gentleman's recognized. It's not my time.
I ask you to yield.
I have reserved. You're free to speak.
Yes, I'm asking if you'll yield for a question.
Sure. Ask your question.
What funds in this bill are used for the purposes you are opposed to?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear the gentleman. I was getting clarification. This is precautionary.
Precautionary for what? I'm asking.
There are sanctuary city policies.
Yes, I understand. I understand what
that are in place that are allowing the refuge of illegal aliens in these cities, and there is an influx in crime and drugs.
I understand
in these cities, and there's no way for these folks to even report what is taking place because they are protected under this fake policy that has been created that is subduing the actual rule of law that we have in the Constitution of the United States.
Funds, right? I understand that. But what you've said is none of the funds in this bill can be spent for that objective.
And that is precautionary.
What funds are in this bill to be spent for that objective?
I have seen this administration use all sorts of funds
to
protect illegal aliens. And this
reclaiming
is
my time, Ms.
to
Boebert.
ensure that it will not be.
Reclaiming my time. There are no funds in this bill to do that. So this is just an opportunity for you to stand and perhaps speak about an important subject. I understand that, but there are no funds in this bill to accomplish that objective. You don't believe the chairman would put funds in to accomplish that objective, do you? I yield.
A question?
Yeah.
I do not trust this administration with any of the taxpayer funding that they are handling. They are mishandling our taxpayer fund. And if the gentleman says that there's no funds and agrees that this is precautionary, then I would urge that you support this amendment.
Do you understand, if we do this amendment, any subject that anybody has an interest in would be subject to such an amendment? Now, the Rules Committee has waived points of order. Contrary to what they said they wanted done when we were in charge, because then they didn't want points of order so they could raise them. But there are no funds in this bill, Mr. Speaker, for the objective that the lady wants to prevent.
And of course, Steny Hoyer is exactly correct there. It would be chaos if every time someone has some point they want to make about a random issue, they just added an amendment to a random bill so they can rant about that subject. If there were particular funds she wanted to reallocate or had an issue with, okay, that's a different conversation completely. But saying that as a precautionary step, I want to amend this legislation to say that no money should go to a purpose that already no money is going towards, It's a little crazy. It's as reasonable as if Steny Hoyer proposed an amendment to the bill that says no funds can go toward, I don't know, let's see, theater tickets for Lauren Boebert in Colorado or for Lauren Boebert's vapes. Yeah, I don't want money in the Financial Services and General Government Appropriations Act for 2024 to be funding those things, but they aren't. At least I don't think so, not directly. Here's the point. This is the way that so many within the modern Republican Party operate. It's not about effective government. It's about stunts. It's about clicks. It's about owning the libs and getting on Fox News, and anything that serves those ends is worthwhile to them. And without trying to offend anybody, a lot of people who are enjoying Boebert's nonsense, I don't think either care or know a whole lot about the ins and outs of government policy. So people like Lauren Boebert can convince them this is what actual work looks like. This sort of behavior that serves no legitimate governing purpose, but just drums up attention for Lauren Boebert so she can scream about sanctuary cities, is celebrated within the GOP. They don't ask why she's voting against the long list of policies that she has, as we've gone through extensively in the past, that would have helped her district, infrastructure projects, lowering prescription drug costs, etc., because they're distracted by nonsense like this. It's working. Now, this sort of nonsense is going on every day, all day, it seems, in Congress, and it's not always the big names like Marjorie and Boebert and Gates. Here's a clip I've been wanting to play for a while because it's just so ridiculous from a hearing a few weeks ago where Republican Representative Doug Lamalfa has a back and forth with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg that further reveals how little Lamalfa cares about seriously discussing issues.
Who wants those? Nobody wants these electric vehicles unless you're an elite that can afford them. People in my district sure as hell don't want them. So keep going. Why are we doing this? Is it over CO2?
Yeah, we're doing it for 3 reasons. Even though the EV revolution is going to happen anyway.
Oh, it's a revolution caused by...
I would love to be able to answer your question, Congressman.
Yeah, okay.
Even though we think that transition is happening in the automotive sector no matter what, there are 3 things that we think are not guaranteed. Will it happen quickly enough to materially help with climate change? Will it happen on equitable terms that are available to people who aren't wealthy and might not be able...
short on time.
If I could just please finish my answer.
Let's drill on the climate change.
Just finish the third. Will it be made on American soil or not?
It's about CO2, isn't it?
How's that?
What percent of the atmosphere is CO2 that we're chasing here?
I'm sorry?
What percent of the atmosphere is CO2 that we're chasing here? Because you talked about climate change.
I don't know the percentage of atmospheric gases.
You don't know the percent of the atmosphere.
What I can tell you is that climate change is real. We got to do something about it.
Yeah, this one's called autumn, sir. So
I'm sorry?
This one's called autumn right now, so yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't make out what you said, sir.
This climate change right now is called autumn, yes.
Yeah, that's the seasons changing, which respectively is not the same thing as the climate changing.
What are we supposed to do with that? How do we talk about the complexities of how we respond to climate change when people gleefully pretend like they don't even understand what we're talking about? And I have to say, the only joy to be derived from that clip is watching Buttigieg's visible confusion as he tries to process the absurdity of the Republican congressman, and he's acting so in good faith. What are you saying? No, sir, that would be seasons. Now, by the way, just quickly, I know we're sort of getting off topic, but this is a talking point that numerous Republicans have become very fond of in recent months. Here's North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson.
Climate change is simple for me. We're going through it right now. You know, 2 weeks ago, it was 100 degrees. I got up yesterday, it was 58. Do you know why? Because the climate's about to change. We're going from summer to fall. And in a few months, we're going to go to winter. Then we'll go to spring. Then it'll start over again. Everybody says, aren't you concerned about how hot it is? No, sir, it's July 19th. It's going to be hot. If it was July 19th and it was 36 degrees out here, I'd be concerned. But it's supposed to be hot in July.
Yeah, I give up. Okay, you win. You win. Long-term changes in the climate is the same thing, I guess, as seasons. the restricted access to clean water, food, air, the increased magnitude of extreme weather events, the destruction of ecosystems, people's homes being unlivable. Fine, whatever. Who cares about all of that because Mark Robinson and Doug Lamalfa figured out that seasons change? Ugh. My point in showing that to you is that it's the same display as Lauren Boebert and her nonsense. She pretends not to understand the purpose of amendments. They pretend not to understand climate change. And they all get to have a good old time getting cheered on social media or in person by their followers. That's an acceptable substitute for a lot of Americans for serious governance. While Biden's overseeing one of the most effective presidencies in the modern era, multiple pieces of historic legislation, recovering from a once-lifetime pandemic, bringing the economy back from a downturn, etc., he's able to be somehow effectively countered by a party that's focused on this nonsense. And it works on a lot of people. While I believe Biden is going to win, we're going to do everything to make that happen. I do think it's going to end up being the outcome. And I hate saying this next thing, but Trump has a shot at being president again. The guy who, while Biden is speaking in front of unions about what he's doing to assist them, Trump's out ranting all the time about his own problems. He doesn't care about other people's. It's his problems, his numerous prosecutions based on his actions that potentially violate the law. And that guy has a shot. The Republican Party has become nearly void of serious policy prescriptions. It's all about the culture war and Trump as a figure and owning the libs. And then on the rare issues where they do have strong policy stances, they're flying off the rails. For example, this out of Ohio. Ohio Republicans are claiming a constitutional amendment protecting abortion rights, which was approved by voters in Tuesday's election, doesn't actually do that. And they're promising to take steps to prevent the legal protection of reproductive freedom in the state. Quote, to prevent mischief by pro-abortion courts with issue 1, Ohio legislators will consider removing jurisdiction from the judiciary over this ambiguous ballot initiative, Ohio House Republicans wrote in a statement released Thursday. The Ohio legislature alone will consider what, if any, modifications to make to existing laws based on public hearings and input from legal experts on both sides. So, just to clarify, it was put on the ballot in Ohio on Tuesday night whether or not the citizens of the state wanted to enshrine abortion rights into the state constitution. And Ohio Republicans lost resoundingly, just like Trump. They can't accept it. And that was in a state that Trump won. Citizens sided with abortion rights. So that's supposed to be the end of the story. But no, Ohio Republicans are saying, we don't care about democracy. We don't care about the will of the people, and are trying to block the implementation of this ballot measure, essentially, by stripping courts of certain powers. I'm hopeful it won't work, but it's truly deranged. So there it is. Either they're not having policy conversations and are just Boebert confused about stuff, or they are having crazy policy conversations. Before we go, don't forget to become a member at lukebeasleyshow.com/membership to get access to a daily bonus show. I know what you're thinking, Luke, why are you so happy right now? It's because I know you're watching this and you're thinking, I'm going this time. I'm going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. I'm becoming a member. Since I know that preemptively, I'm already happy for it. And you get that daily bonus show. Very exciting. Plus, follow me on Threads at Luke Beasley Official, Instagram at Luke Beasley Official, X at Luke P. Beasley, and get the Beasley Brief. What the heck? A daily morning newsletter that summarizes the previous day's events by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/brief. You can also go to lukebeasleyshow.com/news and just read up on news stories that are originally produced on that site. So cool. I'll talk to you next time.